Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Mark Gorrell, and I am doing my micro teaching assignment, and we're going to figure out whether we made the right decision on that or not. It's my oral presentation by me for EDU 1107. We're going to be working on Kohlberg's theory of moral development. Questions about morality as they stood, especially back in the early 19th century and actually on into the early 20th century. People are having different thoughts about morality and the definition of morality and moral values. And questions, whether I made the right decision, should I have done that, whose choice is it? With respect to how about, such hot issues as abortion and things like that. So we all know that we all have a little bit of the devil in us, and hopefully we have a little bit of the angel in us too, and the angels went out most of the time, we hope. But most of the time, with respect, morality as a general definition during the time of Kohlberg was seen as reasonably vague. Kohlberg actually came up with a bunch of different stages of morality. He loved to do research. As a noun, as we know it now, it talked about principles concerning the distinction between right and wrong, or good and bad behavior. So good or bad behavior. And we all know as kids, and if you have kids of your own, that it seems like sometimes they have bad behavior and hard to get them on their good or best behavior. And a lot of times we'll suffer the consequences of that because our behavior as it is affected by the observation of these principles. So whether we want to be good is how our behavior presents itself out to the outside world or to the other people. Hopefully we have a little bit of angels sitting on us in our shoulder. Lawrence Kohlberg, as he was known when he was born October 25th in 1927, Bronxville, New York. He was the son of a Jewish man and his second wife, who was a Protestant woman, and they were later on divorced 4 or 5 years after he was born. Here's a picture of him. Yeah, hopefully you can see it well. My webcam on my computer wasn't working so hot, so I'm having to use my video camera to do this. Kohlberg earned his bachelor's degree in 1 year and went on to pursue his doctoral degree. He got his degree in 1 year because at the time, universities across the country were allowing you to earn credit for things that you'd already done, and Kohlberg had already done an extensive amount of things. He was in the Merchant Marines. He had done a lot of things for the Merchant Marines when he was in it. He had experienced capture and done quite a few other things in his life before he got out of the military and went to pursue his bachelor's and then on to get his doctorate, which took him about 10 years. He is best known for his work, Kohlberg's Stages of Moral Development, which is what I'm actually working on, written in 1958. He loved to do research. He became infatuated with Jean Piaget's work on the 2 stages of moral development, and he wanted to embellish that and enhance that, expand that. He thought that there were many more stages and levels to it. Kohlberg's theory, in essence, was, as I mentioned earlier, expanded upon Piaget's theory, describing a 2-stage process of moral development. And he added 3 levels of moral development with 6 stages defined with 3 different levels. So stage 1, and then you would have 2 levels. In stage 2, you would have 2 more levels. In stage 3, you would have 2 more levels. Okay. He asserted that moral development was an ongoing process throughout our life. I think that's probably true for all of us. I know sometimes my feelings have changed, or when you say, I have a different opinion of that now, that our moral, as our moral reasoning changes, our moral development, I think, per se. So He proposed that moral reasoning, just as I just mentioned, guided our moral development as human beings. And I think that comes with age. A lot of times you might hear that old adage, you know, I learned so much more as I got older. So, or you'll learn by experience. So, our experience is the best teacher, you know, as you've gone through different things, as it is. The basis and formation for Kohlberg's theory of moral development was research-based, and it was actually his doctoral dissertation. So he was so into doing research, and he was so involved in research. All the research that I did led to more research, because that's all this guy did was research. So, and he was infatuated the way children answered, or how they thought, or how they reasoned about things. He had a fascination with children's reactions to moral dilemmas. You know, should the kid have picked up the piece of candy? You know, should the kid should he have picked up the dollar that he found on the floor in the store, or should he have given it to lost and found in case somebody else had lost it? He did his interviews based on groups of young children after being presented with a series of moral dilemmas, just to get their reaction. Later on in life, he went on to go ahead and not only do interviews with young children, but he expanded that so that he get interviews with, you know, children that young adults, teenagers, young adults, all throughout the maturation process of a human being, all the way up to people that were in their 60s and 70s. He was more interested in the reasoning behind the judgment than the right or wrong aspect. So he wanted to know what the reasoning was, why these children felt in fact that it was okay to do something, whether it was right or wrong. But it might have been wrong, but it was okay to do it, and he wanted to know why. Hines steals the drug. This was a moral dilemma. This is a classic example for Kohlberg. It's one of the ones you'll see cited in things like Psychology Today, about.com, where I got a lot of my research. You'll see that in the credits. In fact, there's a link where you have to go there to do the class interactivity. And it's about a guy whose wife is sick. And I will give you the link so that you can read this more clearly. I'll generalize it for you. A druggist developed a drug out of radium. It didn't cost him very much to make it. Only cost him $200 to make it. It was a cure, but he wanted to charge $2,000 just to get a small dose. Well, Hines had a sick wife, and he tried to borrow money from everybody. The most he could raise was about $1,000. The pharmacist wouldn't take it, and long story short, the pharmacist said, "No, I made the drug. I'm going to make money from it." So Hines broke into the man's store later on to steal it, to save the life of his dying wife. Of course, obviously, the question is going to be, you know, was that morally right, or was it morally correct? Well, here's the stages of moral development. I got these stages of moral development from Kohlberg's theory of moral development. Stages of moral development that was written by Kendra Cherry on about.com guide. I retrieved it on March 2nd, 2013. Okay, the first level was pre-conventional morality. This had to do with young children. It had two stages within it: obedience and punishment. The earliest stage of moral development, obviously. I mean, it's kind of usually what we learn as children. It was very evident in young children. As adults, we express that. Like, let's not go speeding down the road because we're going to be punished by this huge, humongous $250 or $500 ticket based on how many miles per hour over the speed limit we are. Just things that just aren't right. Wear your seatbelt. Not only will you get fined, if there's an accident, you could get badly hurt. So obeying the rules is important because it's obviously a means to avoid punishment. The second stage within pre-conventional morality, also at a young age, is when you become individualistic, you start to learn your own person, individualism and exchange. And at this point in time, kids start to allow other points of view and interact with kids of their own typical age group, and start to understand that what another person's point of view, and they felt that his actions were okay even though they were against the laws, if you will, because they argued that the best course of action for Hines served Hines' needs the best, that is to save his wife's life. So reciprocity It's possible in this point in moral development, but only if it serves one's own interest. Okay, the second stage, of course, is conventional morality. It's the middle level, level 2. It also has 2 stages within it. Stage 3 is interpersonal relation, you know, the good boy, good girl syndrome, where you're focused on living up to social expectations, how you act when you go out, whether you go out to the clubs or whether you go out to dinner, the movie, square dancing, church, whatever it is, and your role within that, your own community, and the emphasis is on conformity, being nice within your own realm, and you always have considerations and make those choices to influence relationships. So those are interpersonal relationships. I'm a firm believer that that's probably true. A lot of those, our moral development might come from the circle of friends and what we do and what we're involved in our life. Stage 4, maintaining social order. I'm a real big believer in religion is an emphasis on helping to maintain social order in a certain way on society. And also, if you have a certain stage of development, of moral development, where you consider society as a whole when you make your judgments. You know, how do we know that a lot of times when we make our decisions, you know, what other people would think or what we were supposed to do in our own society? So the focus would be more on maintaining law and order, you know, making sure everything is as it should be and people are obeying the rules and the laws and respecting authority. And the last level is, I think, after we've been around a while, and that is post-conventional morality. You know, experience is the best teacher. You have a stage 5 and a stage 6. The stage 6 is a contract and individual rights, social contract, you know, where you account for the different values of people. You're at that age where it doesn't bother you so much that somebody might have a different opinion than you. It doesn't bother you if you're hanging around and you're hanging with a liberal and you're a conservative, or if you're a liberal, you're hanging around with a conservative. You know, you value the opinions of others, and it's not enough for you to be bothered by it, and you just accept their opinion. And the rules of law, of course, are important for maintaining society, but us as a people within the society, we need to agree upon those rules. Of course, in the United States, we elect people that are supposed to legislate the law for our society, the society and the nation we live in. And at stage 6, which is the final stage, you're at these universal principles. You've been around a while, I guess. Kohlberg's final level of moral reasoning is based on universal ethical principles and abstract reasoning now, where you're taking that moral decision, that moral reasoning, to a more abstract concept, the what-if concepts of things, even if they conflict with the laws and the rules of society today. So you start to internalize those feelings, whether those feelings were, you felt good about what he did, you knew that you would probably do the same thing, however it was against the law. Okay, this is what I call a class interaction and interactivity. Okay, this I think is what we're supposed to do. I need you to go to this link. I will post this on the discussion forum or the open discussion or wherever I can get it posted. I might ask the professor where I can put this, and Dr. B. And it's psychologyabout.com. It's on the credits. I use this site where you can read more about the Heinz dilemma and get a better understanding of it and the questions you should ask. This is what I'd like you to do. Choose 3 people of differing ages to explain the Heinz drug dilemma. Then just write it down, record it on a piece of paper, and try and analyze what stage of moral development you believe they're at in the point of their development. Okay, I'll give you a couple of examples of what I did, and I used this link for it. I think maybe if you pause this, you might be able to download the hyperlink on YouTube once it gets there. Okay, here's some of my examples. I did Amy, a 41-year-old female. Her response was yes, absolutely. It's stage 6. It's universal principles apply here. She was at that point in her life. Take the drug. I know it's wrong. Guy wouldn't give me a break. I offered to make payments, etc., but he wanted all the money. Then I go another 30 some odd years. I got Sheila, 74-year-old female now, several children. Response was no. She was at a stage 4. She maintained social order with some caveats involved there. Okay, And then we jump up to I did more actually, but this is Gene, a 77-year-old male, and his response was yes. And he also was in that abstract reasoning realm where he said the universal principles apply here, even though they conflicted with society's laws and rules of the day. All right, so these are my references and citations, and you need to be, these are where I got most of my information, and I will post the site up later for, with respect to the about.com site if we can't get it on YouTube. All right, thank you very much.